Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Native Growth Podcast. I'm so glad you're here today to join me from wherever you are in time and space. Today's episode is all about something called reflecting. It's called I'm Just a Reflection of You, My Love, and you will soon see why it's called that if you're not familiar already with the idea and concept of reflecting. We are going to talk all about what exactly that is, what it means, and how it really drives your perceptions of yourself and your life. And then we will also talk about how reflecting also not only has a science behind it, but is very much tied into 4 out of the 12 universal laws, specifically the law of assumption, the law of cause and effect, the law of circulation, and the law of attraction. So we will talk about all of that today, and I'm so excited to get started. So to start off, reflecting, the idea of reflecting is that you will always see in other people and in your life what it is that you see in yourself. And this tends to happen mostly on a non conscious level, but is very much tied to whatever your current state of being is, whatever your current perceptions of yourself and your life are. So, for example, if you tend to be a pretty positive person, and you just embody that, you just feel that, you just know that state of being of positivity, then you tend to see, the good side, the positive things in other people. You tend to be more compassionate and understanding because you automatically, again, mostly non-consciously, but you automatically assume kind of the best in people, right? And you automatically assume the best in your life. And because you do that, those things keep presenting themselves to you in your life, right? You keep having a positive life experience because it is a reflection of the positivity that you are and that you see within yourself. And then, of course, we all know, for better or worse, we all know those people who just tend to be kind of negative, whether it's that they, are just very depressing, or maybe they just are depressed in general, even if they're still a good person. But there's certainly those people that are very challenging to be around. And they tend to just look at everything very negatively. And so then they will see the negative side of people. They'll see the negative side of even their interpersonal interactions, their interpersonal one-on-one relationships in their communities, and they'll just see that in general, the negativity through their life, right? So this is the idea of reflecting, that whatever you see in others is a reflection of what you see in yourself and in your life. And so it's just a very kind of like umbrella concept. But it's one that, again, is tied to some of these other universal laws. And already you can see how it really dictates the type of life experience that you have. And so it's worth bringing to our conscious awareness so that we can be like, oh, yeah, if I keep thinking that I'm going to have a bad life experience and then I have a bad life experience, like, well, that's because I assumed that it would, right? And one of the kind of, I guess, like really big examples that stands out to me in my mind when I think about times in my life where I have been able to shift my life by shifting my reflection is, years ago, I used to work in early childhood. And when I first started working in early childhood, I already had like a lot of experience working in early childhood before I graduated college. And so this was like my first, what I call big girl job out of college. I was a toddler teacher. So I worked with 1-year-olds and then with 2-year-olds. And then I worked in pre-K for a while as well. And I, kind of came into it with this really positive outlook. I was having a lot of really positive life experiences. I was seeing myself in a very positive way, right? And so then I continued to have really positive interactions with the kids in my classroom, with the parents, with all of this stuff, right? Like the good that I saw in myself and in my life circulated back to me in the experiences that I was having. And then I kind of just went through this period of time after I had worked there for like a year or two where I got in like a little bit of a slump. And I'm sure that you can relate to this as well. Like we all do it. We all just have these difficult times where we're just kind of feeling down, we're not feeling ourselves, things just are not, kind of going consistently in life. Things start to get wonky and we start to wobble as a result of the wonkiness that goes on, right? And so then we kind of get sometimes in a slump and it starts to kind of make the way that you experience life turn on its head as well, right? You start to feel worse, therefore things in your life start to get worse, right? And this was no different. It was like all of a sudden the kids in my classroom started to become so unruly for reasons I could not understand. Um, I suddenly found myself without a co teacher, and so that made things really challenging, even though I was still legally within the limit within our state of like how many kids you can have to how many teachers. So I was still within the legal limit, but it still made things very difficult. I mean, when you have 7 2-year-olds that you're in charge of, when exactly are you supposed to go potty? So um, but it just started to create more difficulty, more challenges. Like I said, the kids started to just get kind of crazy. My parents even started to get kind of cranky with me again for reasons that they couldn't necessarily vocalize. That it was just kind of their attitude towards me sometimes. Even my boss, a couple of times, she was the site coordinator over the location where I worked. She would come in and just have these comments of like, man, like you're just really not yourself. You seem really cranky. You're having a hard time connecting with these kids. Like, what's going on? And I just, so everything that was happening was a reflection of me. I was in a slump, so my life started to slump, right? And it took me a while before I had to sit myself down and be like, look, once upon a time, I wasn't like this. And once upon a time, my life wasn't like this either. And so I know that if I've had, a really good feeling inside of me, that really positive outlook and that self love and acceptance and radiating my light, I know that if I've been there before, then I can go there again. And so I had to just sit there and be like, okay, wait a minute. Is it that my whole day, every day is really that bad? Or is it just because I'm reflecting what I'm feeling, that ickiness within myself right now, right? So if you didn't listen to the last episode, it's very much connected. Like I always try to connect one to the other. Um, but so then I had to kind of like call upon myself to focus on what was actually important and actually positive within each day. So I started to develop this mindful practice at the end of the day where I would be like, okay, yep, that thing that happened that wasn't so great, but this other thing actually went really well. And then that happened, I didn't really appreciate it, but that happened and that was really good. And just start to really give more intention and focus to the things that I was grateful for, to the positive things that happened, right? And by doing that, I started to open my heart and my consciousness to possibility and the ability to receive that things could get better, that things would get better, right? And that I could play a role in them continuing to get better. Like I started to be like, okay, well maybe some of those things I can start to organize them. Like what things didn't go well that I just didn't have control over, it just happens. And then things that didn't go well, what can I do to maybe like rearrange some things around in that situation to help maybe them to go better moving forward, right? So at the time, working in early childhood, that meant I needed to do a little bit of rearranging in my room and a little bit of rearranging with my schedule, and then making sure that I was just being more mindful and present with the 2-year-olds that I had. And just kind of communicating and working with them in a slightly different way so that when certain times of the day were happening, and I knew that certain things were coming up, right? There are lots of times in your day where things are planned out. You know that you're going to go to a meeting. You know that you're going to go meet with your boss. You know you're going to go have to sit and brainstorm and collaborate on a project with a coworker. You know you're going to have to go, I don't know, take your kid to soccer practice and meet that one perky mom that you just can't stand. You know that certain things in your day are going to happen. And so I was like, okay, if I know these things are coming up, how can I resituate and reorganize the situation so that as it comes up, the transition is easy and what happens in that time frame is easy, and we all just kind of get it, and then we're able to vibe and flow, and then when that time is over, we easily move on to the next thing, right? So it was not only that I started to open myself again to possibility and receiving better things again, it was that once I started to take on that assumption of better things coming and being able to create better, right? Then it was also like I started to believe in better, and I started to prepare for better. I started to make decisions from a place of better. I started to act from that place of, okay, things are going to be better, right? And so in psychology, they might call this the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like if you assume that things are going to go bad, they're going to go bad. But if you assume things are going to go well, then they're going to go well. But we know, if you're here with me, then we all know that there's always energy at play. And so these energies that I would primarily say are at play are some of the laws of the universe. And so, as we're talking about assumption, the first one is actually called the law of assumption. And so, the law of assumption says that when you assume something will happen, you carry that energy with you. That energy goes out, the universe receives the message, and then the universe circulates it back to you through the manifesting of what you assumed would happen, right? And it's important to know that this can happen so quickly because when we start to get into that space of assumption, it's not just the thought, which is the energy, it's the feeling, which is the electricity. And the electricity is what gets resonated outward from our body, from our aura. That is the electricity that gets sent out, that goes up really fast and back really fast, or out really fast and back really fast, right? Especially the more deeply you believe in that idea, the more deeply you feel that. I'm trying to find a better word for deeply, and it's not coming, but but the more that it is ingrained in your truth, then the stronger that electrical current is that gets sent out from there, right? And so this creates not only the assumption, which again starts that process of like manifesting, bringing into reality what you assumed would happen, it also triggers the universal law of cause and effect, right? Because it's not only, again, just the thinking and the feeling and the believing, it's also, like I said, that you start making decisions from that place. It's also that you start preparing for the future from that place. It's also that you just start acting in general and situating your life from that place of like, I know this is going to happen, so I'm going to go ahead and prepare for it, right? So for example, something that has happened most recently is as my husband and I have been preparing to move to Austin, which we're very excited about. So this is very, by the way, out of my husband's character, but he separated his employment um, a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't have anything lined up. And that's very, like, he is so in that really like truest of true masculine energy of like, I need to provide for my family. I need to be prepared. I need to know that everything's going to be taken care of. I need to know that it's going to be lined up and we have all of our ducks in a row and we're all prepared. Like, he's very much that person, which I think that I love, and I also bring a balance to. But but anyway, so he had started to seek out one opportunity in particular that he was very excited about, and I felt very good about as well. And so I just started to operate, like knowing the universal laws, right? I started to operate with the law of assumption and the law of cause and effect. And so I was like, okay, you are going to get this job. You already have this job because time and space don't truly exist, right? So so that's like the beauty of the quantum field within all of this, right? Is that since time and space don't exist, whatever is out there you already have, right? So I started operating from this place of you already have this job that you're really excited about. We're already living this life that we're really excited about. And so from that place, I started telling people, oh, yeah, my husband got offered this job in Austin. And so we're moving and we're going to spend more time with my family. And we already have an apartment lined up and we'll stay there for a while. And then maybe we'll buy a house and plant roots for a little bit, right? And so I just started operating from that place of I'm assuming it as done and I am taking action. I am causing it to be done, right? And then it was done. He got an offer letter today. We got approved for our a new apartment a couple of days ago. And because our dog is he's a pit bull, so you would think like, oh well, most places don't allow pit bulls, but he's my husband's ESA. And so not only did we get approved no problem, but they waived the pet fee for us. So it's like things are turning out even better than we could have imagined because we started operating from this place of assumption and causing the effect, causing the manifestation to come. And so you can see how again it's not only the belief in what's coming, it's also the embodying the new person that you're becoming in the process, the attributes of the new you that you are becoming once you have what it is that you desire to have, if that makes sense. And so as you start to take on those new attributes and become that next version of yourself, you start to level up that energy, right? You start to carry that energy with you. And again, that the thoughts are the energy, but the feelings are the electricity, right? And so the more that you embody, the more that you ingrain, the more that you level up in the fiber of your being, the more that that electricity resonates outward from you. And because you are not physically a stagnant being, right? Like you leave your house, you go grocery shopping, you go meet friends, you go to work, you go to all of these places where you're interacting with all of these things and all of these people, all this other energy and all this other electricity, right? And so this is what we call the law of circulation. The law of circulation says whatever you put out, because it gets transmitted to everyone you meet, everywhere you go, it's only a matter of time before that energy circulates back to you, right? And so as it circulates back to you, right? So if you're putting out positivity in some form, right? If you're putting out more love, if you're putting out more success, it's only a matter of time before those things circulate back to you. Maybe not necessarily right away in the form of the exact manifestation, right? But they will start to circle back to you in other ways. And it's just up to you to be able to receive them and to be like, oh, these awesome things are happening because I've been putting this out into the world, right? And so the more that our new self becomes embodied, the more that it becomes validated, right? And so the more it becomes validated, the more that we truly start to ingrain and identify as that next version of ourself, as that higher version of ourselves. Hopefully, if that's like your focus in the direction that you're going, right? Because again, this is all about reflection. So it's all about whatever space that you're starting from and working towards, right? But the more that our energy circulates and comes back to us and validates what we've been focusing on, right, and validates the person that we're becoming, the more that we start to believe, like, yes, this is who I am, this is my identity. And that's where we really start to trigger the fourth universal law here, which is the law of attraction. I know a lot of people talk about the law of attraction in terms of you get what you think about the most, and that's obviously not wrong, right? Again, if we're thinking about reflecting, we're thinking about the law of assumption and the law of cause and effect, right? Then like, yeah, some of that will start to happen. But as I was saying before about how even when I was in a slump, I could find little holes in it and things that were wobbly and inconsistent, right? So, like, true manifestation doesn't necessarily come only from what we think, because the electricity there is not very heavily charged, especially if you're aware of the fact that what you're experiencing right now is temporary for you. You're not very attached to it. It's not part of your identity. The electricity is not very charged. It's not very powerful. The electrical current you're putting out doesn't have that much resonance to it, that much power to it, right? And so it really is only once things start to circulate back to you so many times that it starts to validate your identity, that you start to you start to have more of an electrical charge, more of an attachment to those feelings and to that identity. That energy, that electricity becomes stronger, more powerful, more resonant. And from that place is where you start to truly see the law of attraction really kicking in, and manifestations really, making themselves available to you in your life, especially with any level of consistency. So, so it all starts with reflecting and noticing how it is that you're creating your life from the space of reflection. And I truly believe that if you are here with me right now, then you are already well on your way to reflecting and creating a reality that's better than the one that you have. Because if you're listening to this, then I'm sure that I'm not the only one that you're listening to when it comes to personal and spiritual growth. You're probably also reading books. You're probably also spending some time in reflection and meditation with yourself, right? You're already starting to use these other tools in your toolkit, and I'll bet even more of them are coming into your reality all of the time, because when you start to, again, you're reflecting, right? You're like, yep, I'm growing. I am, I'm a work in progress, right? And I'm just becoming my higher self a little bit. I'm getting that 1% better every single day. Then those things start to, by the law of assumption, by the law of cause and effect, by the law of attraction, right? These things start to circulate through you and come back into your life. And so different kinds of tools will keep popping up for you, new people who have all kinds of wonderful, beauty to reflect back into you, wisdom to share with you. They will start coming into your reality, right? Like all of these wonderful um seemingly random circumstances just kind of keep popping up. And that is when you know that Creator is building your bridge of divine incidents to help you in your goal, to help you in your process, to help you get from point A to point B. And you're really reflecting that growth and that love and that acceptance and that progress um, into other people and then back into yourself as well. And I'll bet even along the way, not only are more of these things coming in to give you more help, to give you more tools, but I'll bet in the same breath that you'll also have other people coming in who are in their phase of growth where you were just like last week or last month. And because you were there already, you now have the opportunity to speak into their growth and be like, oh, I found this really great book. You should read this book. It helped me so much. Right? Like um, it's to me very not even a topic of discussion or argument that the universal laws exist and that creator is there's no question that creator is constantly working in your favor and building your bridge of divine incidents for you to get to where you're going. And it all starts with reflecting. It all starts just bringing into your awareness who you are and what you're feeling and the electricity that you have that you're circulating out into your closest friends group, into your community, and out into the world beyond that. Right. So I hope that this episode was very helpful. I hope that it does help to bring some things into your conscious awareness so that you can keep leveling up and getting higher and building your life with more peace, more love, more authenticity, more joy, all of these things that I'm so grateful that I get to experience. This is the real wealth in life, and I am so excited for you to experience it too. As a friendly reminder, if you haven't already checked out some of my Tai Chi, Qigong, breath work, I integrate all these different practices and put them in nice, kind of short little 20 to 30-minute videos for you so that you can practice these techniques at home. Because even though I talk on the podcast a lot about all of the things that we can kind of noodle on to help us get better, the reality is that we always make progress in life, especially as we continue to grow and elevate ourselves. It's not just in the mind, right? Our energy encompasses our entire body. And so our mind can be on board, but if our body isn't on board, we'll still be holding thoughts and feelings in places in our body somatically that will continue to prevent us from the growth and the desire that we want to receive, right? So if you haven't already checked out some of those videos, there's a few of them up. I'm going to keep putting them up every week. I'm doing my best to get one up every Monday. Obviously, we're in the process of packing and moving, and it's going to be nuts for the next couple of weeks, but I'll continue to put one together at least once a week, if not twice a week for you, each one with a different focus. So please go check those out. It is my biggest goal that we will be able to do those together live, but YouTube will not let me do that until I have at least 50 subscribers. So I would greatly appreciate it if you would go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you'll also get notified every time I post one of these, kind of Tai Chi Qigong technique videos, as well as podcasts. You can also subscribe to the podcast on all other podcasting platforms. You also get notified every time a podcast goes up there. And, if you feel called to, I would love for you to comment, like it, share it. Put it out everywhere that you feel called to put it, because the more that we unite together, the more that we can raise the vibration and the consciousness of the universe. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I love you so much. I hope you have a great day.